we're on the convention floor of the National Religious Broadcasters Convention 2021, and our show, Kingdom Pursuits. How does God take your passion and use it to build the kingdom? And so I'm here with a totally old friend, really great old friend in so many neat ways, and a new friend. I'd never met her daughter before that I know of. And so there's a ministry I've been familiar with really since my first or second or third NRB, 15, 16 years ago. Oh, and then there's something new and exciting. And then so we want to share that with you. But first off, let me introduce my old friend Miriam Neff.
I'm your vintage friend.
Vintage.
Like smoked Gouda cheese, just fine.
She really is. Because, I'll never forget the first time I saw her. We were at a bot breakfast. If I'm not mistaken, she was winning an award and starting this ministry called the Widow Connection almost exactly at the same time that God had put it on my heart to start the Jesus Labor Love Car Repair Labor for single moms and widows in crisis. And so, it was a natural thing, and I came up and we connected websites and we connected ministries, and wow, you found out real quick as you became a widow that things weren't
Something was needed. Something was needed.
Right. And so now we've decided there's some new things that are needed. Or God, or better yet, has put an opportunity in front of you that I can't be more excited about it. And you got your daughter involved in it. And so tell our listeners about wise women managing money.
Well, it started with I had women coming to me who didn't know how to handle their budgets, but also some were very wealthy and hadn't been overseeing big portfolios. Now, Valerie at that time wasn't officially helping me, but she will not deny me any kind of advice. So I'm going to Valerie to help me do what I'm called to do.
I think Mom was almost, in essence, sticking her head over the backyard fence, saying, kind of right on the heels of grief, we're finding that widows are also having financial issues, either way on the spectrum of so much debt or it's really a bad situation, or also, wow, now this woman is half owner of this company she's never been involved in before. So either dealing with really rough finances on one end, or with more than she'd ever managed before and not feeling confident or informed enough to do that. So how do we help them? So I had some thoughts on that with my background and was able to contribute.
You had many, many words that were smart.
Yeah, and what's really neat is maybe about 3 years ago, a man by the name of Hans Scheil, who works the Cardinal Guide, who's also a CFP, came to us to do a radio show. So for about the last 3 years, I've been doing a radio show called Finishing Well, which talks about the very same things, and I understand a lot more because of that, how critical it is to have a CFP in your corner. And so how cool is it that you guys are there, right? Because what women are on the radio talking about money that you know about, and even better so, what Christian women are on there talking about this really critical subject, especially because there are so many single moms,
right,
and so many widows. So as the Christian car guy, I'll just tell you that I noticed almost immediately when I started doing the show 16 years ago that almost all my email came from either widows or single moms, right? Men don't want to admit they don't know how to fix a car to begin with, or they would need to know, but I would get these questions. So the classic example after I started the Jesus Labor Love, which fits in with what you guys do so well, is this poor widow had been driving around without air conditioning for 2 years.
Oh.
So you can imagine. And we're talking North Carolina, so this was not a pleasant experience. And so we couldn't even think about how she was driving around. So she found out about the Jesus Labor Love, and she goes into a body shop that's in the Jesus Labor Love, not thinking that, a body shop wouldn't be where you'd go to get your air conditioning done, but she didn't know. And so one of my guys, Jerry Mathis with Ray's Body Shop, just a nice guy, well, we really don't work on air conditioners, but let me see what you're doing. Let me see your car. So she sits him down in the front seat like that, and he says, well, show me what it's doing. And there was hot air coming out, sure enough, and he said, well, you see this little snowflake on the dash right here?
Oh, no.
He said, you just push that button?
No.
And oh my goodness. Okay. But if you're hearing me, what I'm saying is how many things like that in my life that like, oh my goodness, when I started finding out about Social Security, like I had no idea. I had no idea that you could print your statement online and that you would get a different amount when you're 65 and 3 months old than when you're 65 and 10 months old. Or if you took it when you're 67 versus if you're 62, or that you had to pay different taxes on it at 62 than you would at 65. In other words, all those questions, and I'm a guy, right? And I thought I knew something.
Well, and the other thing is women are totally capable of learning everything. And in fact, most of the wealth of the United States now, 51% of the wealth is overseen by women. And in 15 years, it'll be 3/4. And it starts with the young women who are getting better jobs and they're getting 401ks and all of that kind of thing. So the reality for the woman, the vintage woman, and the reality for people that Valerie's working with high assets that are wanting to be generous people, there's a big spectrum. So we're addressing stuff for all women, and we have, and we've talked a little bit before, we have this website where we have the 26 videos. They're only 5 minutes long.
Right. But we do find that, like what you were saying, there's a lack of confidence. So it's not the lack of ability to learn about it or figure it out, but it's the lack of confidence, even more so with women, that they're just not sure, especially if for a long time they haven't been handling the finances, someone else has. So if they've kind of defaulted to that person, all of a sudden they're not able to do that anymore. So it's a quick learning curve that they're going to need. So many people are intimidated by what they don't know about finances, but maybe even more so if you've never had to approach that. And so you're doing it later than life or suddenly. That can be really scary for anybody, including
and then especially when you think about it from my perspective, because turning 65, all of a sudden found myself in the world of Medicare and Social Security and all these things. I didn't have a clue. I mean, there's all sorts of penalties that are involved if you don't do this stuff right. And so how awesome that you guys have these resources, right? And
oh, yes. And the other thing is, for instance, when we talk about the younger generations, when they see our video, for instance, when we talk about the value of that 401k, how many young women think, well, I don't want to take money out of what I could spend now because that's a long way away. And we talk about, and in fact in the books we'll have charts and easy to see stuff so that they can say, wait a minute, I'm going to be able to be confident about that year down the line. And they also see that Valerie and I, not only do we have a lot to say, but we like each other and we throw in funny stuff. And I can tell you some of her funny stuff, but then she wouldn't be happy with me.
Well, it's meant to make it approachable, I think, because I think a lot of people are intimidated by just managing finances,
of course
approaching stewardship, wanting to do it well, and then doing that from a biblical worldview is yet another thing. So
I know we've whetted their appetite pretty good. What is this website? I mean, where do these people get these videos?
Okay, our widowconnection.com, widowconnection.com.
So it's still there at your original website, Widow Connection.
Yes, because this is a fairly new thing. Now, what happens, though, is it's on Vimeo also, but Widow Connection is really easy, widowconnection.com. On the home page, you see our picture, not with the earphones on like we are here at NRB, and they're all 26, but you can click to what you want to learn about.
Right.
So when we start out, we say, God has entrusted you. You are a Matthew 25 steward. I want to be the 10 that earns 10.
Right.
And it's under the Wise Women Managing Money. And so now we'll have a book coming out in March of next year on that same topic. So it might get its own website, but for now it's under that widowconnection.com under the Wise Women Managing Money.
So how beautiful is that? Again, Wise Women Managing Money on Vimeo. I'm sure you could just do that and find the videos. But again, it's such a beautiful thing that to me
it's unique. And the other thing is it's not monetized on the website. So in other words, we're not grabbing your email, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that or selling stuff, but
What they're saying is it's easy and it's free.
It's free.
It's free.
That's FREE, free.
It's free. And the other thing is, with the book, we're going to have on the cover, inside and on the back, that all proceeds will go to raising women's financial literacy. Because we're a little bit passionate about that. You might be able to tell it. But like just the concept, it's not ours. It's God loaning it to us. That makes a really high motivational factor.
So you may not think it's a coincidence that God was raised up wise women, right, managing money for such a time as this. Like here we are with all this massive amounts of wealth, right, that's coming under the control based on, just the way that the baby
longevity.
boom, happened, and longevity, and so here we go, and so God's raising up people all over. It's like He's got secret agents, that He's all of a sudden got out there that are teaching on these subjects, and so those 50 videos. I'm curious, Valerie, which of those are you most excited that people would want?
Oh boy. Well, I think the pinnacle of wise stewardship is going to be the generosity piece. And that's what really brings joy, is because once we get confident, we come out of struggling to stable and then to surplus eventually, which that's where that path, we're not promised that it would lead there, but many times it does. But then we can be generous with others. We can help support others and ministry. So that would then go into kingdom purposes, right? And fund more of that. So I think that's the summit of the experience of getting financially independent. So we have that kind of, once you win, now what do you do with the generosity piece? So that's probably my favorite. And legacy. How do you teach the next generation so that they know it from the onset and they can be generous and do kingdom work from the onset? I'd love for my kids to do it much earlier than I did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So
yeah, absolutely beautiful. And Miriam, how about you? Are those videos, a little different generation? Which one are you the most excited about? That wow, these people are going to see this and learn some neat stuff.
Okay, mine is real practical and ordinary, but that's the difference between Will and I. I'll tell you the one for me that I think is so important. It talks about what's important about your spending plan, and the first thing is, and it's a proverb that says, till your field and then build your house. Our culture says get a mortgage on the biggest house as you can and hope your income will go up to match it. Accumulate credit card debt. This is real stuff, Robbie. You know this. So we're saying, what has God enabled you to learn? And it's not a field that you're plowing now, but it's a job, or it's a barista, or it's a law degree, or women have more varied positions now. Your spending plan fits in under that with margin, generosity, savings, and then you make a spending plan. That is a life-changing concept. And our younger generations, Val and I, we will not be quiet. We keep, and yes, we talk to the youngsters in our relative circles and friends about this, but it's basic. It sounds kind of primary. What Valerie said about generosity is the most important. That's the God-honoring thing. That's the motivation. That's the know your why. And then the how is till you feel,
right,
build your house.
Right. And so, I'm sure some listeners, you've heard that term CFP, but it's not just, it's a significant issue. And so when they're talking about wise women, Valerie, you have that. And can you explain to our listeners a little bit about what a CFP is?
Yeah, it's a certified financial planner. So I am an attorney and certified financial planner by credentials. I don't independently practice either one of those. I practice those with the ministries that I'm working with. But that is a professional, the CFP, that can help people make financial plans, financial strategies along the way. So,
in other words, there's wisdom that comes from learning, right?
Yes.
And the love of learning and the love of God.
And sitting for tests. And she passed the patent law, but she's not doing that.
Well, I know that our listeners are more than blessed to know about this. Again, one more time. Wise Women Managing Money. It's there at Widow Connection. My old friend Miriam Neff, widowconnection.com, which is actually still linked at christiancarguy.com.
Wow.
Widowconnection.com.
Thank
you. You can find wise women managing money. God bless. Thank you so much for how God has given you guys this passion, and you're using it to build a kingdom.
Thank you, Robbie.